guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Brittany, and today we're gonna be talking about Christopher Moore.
It's Brittany, bitch.
Now, he is one of my old favorite authors. So when I was in middle school, I found the holy grail of writing, which to me at that time was Christopher Moore. It started with the book You Suck, which is actually the sequel to another book I will be reading for this challenge. And I fell in love with his writing, and I read pretty much every single one of his books up until about, I would say, 2014. His books are classified as humor novels, and they really are quite humorous, and they're weird and funny, and they do have some interesting plot lines. And I think that's why I devoured almost all of his books, is because they're really fun, easy reads, or at least they used to be. And I kind of want to revisit it. I want to see if I still love his books like I used to, because embarrassingly enough, if you look on Goodreads, I've given 5 stars to every single book of his that I read. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I really don't think all of them are actually 5 stars for me today. I think that I was a very ambitious young child who's like, oh, I liked it, 5 stars. And that's kind of what happened. If I finished a book and I liked it, I gave it 5 stars. I didn't really rate anything not 5 stars just because if I didn't like it, I didn't finish it. I just give everyone a gold star, honestly. So I'm kind of on a quest to rediscover my love for Christopher Moore and see if I really do still love him. I do think there are some of his that I probably will rate 5 stars. I kind of remember the stories. I mean, it's been a very long time. Some of them it's been at least 10, 15 years since I've picked them up, but I remember loving them, and I still remember some of the storylines. So the fact that I can still remember them how many years later tells me those are probably gonna be the 5-star books. So I'm gonna be picking 3 different novels of his, and they're all not standalones. They're all the beginning of a series. He has a couple series, and I think these may just be the 3 series he has. I could be wrong. But we're gonna be starting with those 3 and start them in order, because I didn't realize when I first started reading his novels when I was in middle school, when I was 13, I didn't realize that I was reading them all out of order. I just found at the library. I didn't even have Goodreads at the time. And that's why they're all rated 5 stars later on, is because later I was like, oh, I love those 5 stars. But I didn't read them at the time, but I rated it. You know what I mean? I actually read literally every single series out of order. It's kind of ridiculous. And he does a really good job of containing the stories within each novel. So you kind of can read them out of order and you wouldn't really know the difference. Some of them are just in the same world and some of them do carry on with the same characters, but you wouldn't know that because he can contain a story within each novel. I think really well. Like, I didn't know any of them were continuations. Like, I didn't know they were series. Like, I had literally no idea. I ended up just reading around them, and it probably will make a lot more sense reading them in order. So that's exactly what I'm gonna try and do now. At 27, I'm not sure about the age calculation right now, but it's been a long time since I read some of these books, a very long time. But I remember he was huge back when I was that age. And I feel like every time I went on an airplane or I was sitting with someone in like a waiting room, everyone had one of his books. So without further ado, let's get into the 3 books I'm gonna be reading for this challenge. Number 1 is gonna be Bloodsucking Fiends. And this is the first novel in the A Love Story series. It's basically a take on vampires. And I think the thing you'll realize about his books is that he likes to poke fun at literally everything, but he does choose certain things to obviously make fun of. So one of them is vampires. So our main character, Jody, gets turned into a vampire one night, and we have to see her navigate that. And then she recruits this guy named C. Thomas Flood, and she recruits him to be like her minion and go out during the day because she can't go out at night, obviously. I'm really happy to kind of actually start with the series and move along instead of moving all around, which is what I've been doing forever. The second book that I'm gonna read is A Dirty Job, which is the first in the series of the Grim Reaper series, I believe. And I think there's only 2 books for this at this time. A Dirty Job basically follows this guy who's a completely normal guy. He has a normal, happy wife, and he's expecting a baby. And then all of a sudden he notices everyone is dying around him. Weird, but I guess overnight he became death, and it's a dirty job. What are you gonna do? I remember this is one of the books that I really loved from him, so I'm definitely expecting this one to be a 5-star. I'm really crossing my fingers it is, because I remember loving this and talking to everyone about it when I read this, because it's such a beautiful, interesting concept. And I haven't read the second book in this actually, because this one is the one that came out, I believe, in 2014, which is kind of when I lost interest. And not that I lost interest, but he published another book called The Serpent of Venice. And I was just having a really hard time getting into like the historical humor, because he really gets historical. And I think after that, I just kind of didn't pick Christopher Moore up again for a while. And also I was in college and I was very busy. So it was kind of the last thing on my mind to be seeking out more books to read, because I was already an English major reading like 45 books a year. So, and the last one I'm planning on reading is Practical Demon Keeping. And this is the first in the Pine Cove series. And I'm not 100% sure on exactly how this is going to work out, but I do know we're following like someone who's like 100 years old but looks 20. And we're following a demon, and the demon has to be like bound to somebody, and it eats people. And this is the Pine Cove series, which has like a bunch of like just weird stuff happen in this town, because I've read the other ones in this series and they're really funny and weird, and there's like weird monsters. So Catch is a demon who needs to be like bound to somebody, and I think he goes after like this vegetarian witch or something. I don't remember. But I'm excited to pick this one up too, because I remember, I really like the ones that have kind of like the inhuman characters as like side characters, because they tend to be really funny. And Pine Cove is basically like on the Big Sur coast of California, and it's just a really interesting little series. So those are the 3 books that I'm gonna be reading for this challenge. I'm just excited to kind of jump back into his world, but I think I'm also terribly afraid that I'm not gonna actually like it anymore, or I'm not gonna enjoy it as much as I did. And I'm kind of afraid for that, because I think a lot of them are just nostalgic, but I remember so little about so many of them, because I know I just blew through them, but also because it was a long time ago. And I think unless you read something sometimes in recent years that didn't have like the big effect on you, you're not going to remember it. Like, I will always remember The Color Purple, because it's one of my favorite books and movies, and it's just something that's always going to stick with me. Like, I can't forget it. But these ones, not that they're forgettable, but I think the stories are just fun and entertaining. I just don't know if they're meant to be like serious, like hard-hitting fiction that's gonna stick with you forever. I mean, some of them actually have a little bit, and I do remember a lot of them. And I remember the feelings they gave me. I think that's what's really important, is I remember the feelings that the books gave me. So I'm really excited to get to these. So let's pray for me and hope that all of these books are amazing, and at least one 5-star out of these would be great. Say hi to everyone. Tell them how annoying you've been. She's like so hungry, she's like bored. What's going on? Speak. All right. Did you almost just bite me? You know what? I don't appreciate that. Anyways, excuse the odd angle, but this is all we have to work with today. Sponsor me, Del Taco. By the way, fun fact, I have 2 mirrors in my room. Those are my closets. They both have mirrors on them, so that's why you can see like every weird angle of my bedroom. And yes, I would love to get a different bed that doesn't have like a weird box spring and just it looks weird, but you know what? Don't judge me, okay? Beds are expensive. So I'm gonna give you an update on this bad boy, and it's taking me a lot longer to read this than I anticipated, also because it's like 300 pages, but I guess the font is pretty tiny, so for me, like, it's a little bit tinier than I would prefer in a book, and I think that's why it just takes a little bit longer. So I'm on page 192, and I think it's like 290 pages of like actual reading, so I really hope I can finish this tonight, because I'm kind of behind on my schedule for reading books, because I have a lot of other books I'm reading at the moment. I have a lot of different reading vlogs coming up, and I always try to like put them together. Like, I try to put a lot of different kinds of books together. Obviously, I'm only reading Christopher Moore's books for this reading vlog. For other reading vlogs, I have like thrillers coming up, and I think about doing a romance one again. I try to pair them together, but a lot of times certain books are due sooner than other ones. So I'm kind of at a standstill here because this book and 2 other books I need to read are due at the same time, and I don't know if I'll be able to renew them. And that's like the thing, like I don't want to try renewing it now because I would like to get myself a little more time to read them. The renewal is only another 3 weeks, which I know I'll be finishing those books in 3 weeks, but I'm kind of scared to find out if they won't be renewed, and then I'll be kind of fucked. Anywho, so I'm on almost page 200 of this, so I'm hoping to finish it tonight. And so far, it's not great, but it's not bad. I think a lot of his books might fall into like a 3.5 category for me, where it's like an enjoyable read, but it doesn't like consume my soul. You know, I find it like a very humorous, fun, lighthearted, slightly sexual read. And it's just like, I love the jokes, I like the humor, I like a lot of the characters and the things that they say, but like I'm not overly attached to the storyline or the plot and where it's going. So at this point in the book, Jody and Tommy are together and they're living together while she's a vampire and she can obviously only be awake at night, which is kind of a cool thing about this vampire like universe that he made for this, is that vampires like automatically, as soon as the sun goes up, like the almanac sun time, literally they just fall like dead, like they're dead ass asleep. They will not wake up. So if they fall asleep in the sun, they're gonna burn to death. And so like Tommy finds a place that doesn't have any windows in the bedroom and all that kind of stuff for her, and we're just kind of following that. And the big storyline is that there's another vampire who obviously made Jody a vampire, and we don't know why he made her a vampire and why he keeps leaving bodies for her to find. It's like almost like he's trying to make her like guilty for those crimes, even though Jody just recently found out that whenever you kill someone that's a vampire, they dissolve into dust. So she doesn't know why he's leaving the bodies. And that's pretty much what we've gotten to. There's been obviously a lot of like little humor and stuff in there and other side characters. It'd be kind of like difficult to explain, but they're like relevant to the story, but they're not like the main characters, but we do follow them sometimes. So this guy is named the Emperor, and he basically is like the emperor of the San Francisco area or whatever. And he's like very well renowned for that. And he kind of like helps everybody out in the city. It's weird. You'd have to read it to get it. Hopefully my last update will be tonight for this book, because I really want to finish it, because I just have so many other books that are due. I have so many arcs that are due. I have so many other books that are due to the library. I have a lot of stuff to read. And this 300-page book should not have taken me 5 days already. But today was the first day I read during lunch. So I think that's a big thing, is at night I've been reading like 20 pages. That doesn't really get you very far. Okay, it's Wednesday, which means that it's sushi day, even though Wednesday isn't sushi day, but they were closed yesterday. So if you can tell, this is my favorite roll. It's called the Pink Lady, and it has 0 rice in it. And then we have over here a Tiger roll and a soy wrapped California roll. I don't know why they keep putting the rice on the outside, but whatever. Okay, I finally finished this book on my lunch today. And it's not that it's finally because it's bad, it's just because it's taken me literally like, I feel like this whole week to read this. And it's not the book, it's definitely my schedule. My work schedule has been very intense. And when I'm working more, or my work is just very emotionally, mentally exhausting, I just find it really difficult to make myself read. And last night I was so tired, I didn't read it all. I think I read a chapter, that was it. And then I forgot to set my alarm this morning. Yeah, that was fun. I woke up late. I woke up 7 minutes after I was supposed to already be clocked on for work. So that was a fun moment. And that's how tired I've been. So I gotta give myself a break, but I'm also like upset because I would really like to read things a little bit faster, especially because I have so many books checked out and I have a lot of arcs to read. So I need to get started. So I think I'm gonna give us, I think like 3.5 stars. It's really not my favorite of his. It's probably one of my least favorites of his. But it does set a tone for the second book, which used to be one of my favorites. And as far as I remember, this book was actually published in 1995. So I think that's also why a lot of it just isn't hitting for me. I think if you would read this in 1995, it would have hit a little bit harder. But we've definitely kind of canceled a lot more of these like bad dad jokes and like cardboard characters of these people that are just a little bit too, not insensitive, it's just overdone. I think at the time this was like very poignant of the time of 1995, and it was funny. I mean, it's still a little bit funny today. It just doesn't like hit the same marks. It's just not as modern. You can definitely tell it feels a bit dated. I do know the author actually lives in the Bay Area, which is exactly where this is set in. This is set in the Bay Area. I think one of my biggest frustrations with this is that the love story really just kind of isn't there. I know when I first picked up the sequel, you know, because that was the first book I read in the series, it it made more sense because they had already established they were like in a relationship, but here like seeing the relationship start is just very not convincing, and like they immediately go into like the I love yous, I want to be with you forever, and I'm just like really not feeling that vibe from them. And I like them as characters individually, like they're just kind of different, but I mean, they complement each other, but I'm not really like rooting for them, but I do like the stories behind it. I like the vampires in this world. It's very interesting to me, but I don't really know if I'm rooting for the romance at all. Even though a lot of his writing is pretty graphic, it's not like explicit, so any sex scenes are just like kind of alluded to, or they make, you know what's happening, but it's not soft and sweet, and it's not explicit. It's just like, it's a sex scene. You're not very attached to it. It's just another thing being described in the story. So if you're worried about explicitness, there's absolutely none of that in here, honestly. But there are some really good humorous parts, which is why I think him as the humor genre really just fits, because it's just funny. Like, some of the things that happens are funny. And I think if you listen to the audiobooks, you probably would like laugh out loud laughing, because it's like you don't know what's coming up next. Like, one of the dogs in the story has a problem with snot, and like the guy complained, and he was like, why is there snot all over this money? And it's just kind of funny. Like, there's little parts like that in there that are just like little gems of fun. Okay, I have picked up Practical Demon Keeping, and so far I'm actually enjoying it like more than Bloodsucking Fiends, which I'm like really surprised about. Like, I was not expecting that, but I don't know. I mean, this is actually his first book, apparently. Like, this was published in 1992. I'm already on page 69, and I'm liking it. It's basically following every single person in this small town of Pine Cove, and it starts off with like this asshole pimp getting eaten by a demon. Love that. What is going on with you? She also wants my pizza. So it's lunchtime, obviously, for me, and I'm having... You want to smell it? I'm having this pizza from Trader Joe's, which is like my favorite pizza from there. Say hi. Say hello. Don't you go near that pizza. I saw that lurch. You lurched for mommy's pizza. I love you. Go lay down when mommy talks to the camera. So anyway, I haven't really gotten too far into the book. I'm only 69 pages in. Again, his books are pretty short. This one is a short one. It's like 240 pages, but the writing is just really small. Like, they are very tight paragraphs in here. I just find it a little bit more difficult to read because it's just so tiny. But so far, I'm definitely enjoying the story a little bit more. I just find the characters more interesting because he's also focusing on so many different kinds of characters instead of like just two kind of blandy characters from Bloodsucking Fiends. This has like literally everyone in the town. So like the guy who owns the bait and tackle, and there's like this magical like genie king who comes, and he's trying to enlist help to catch the demon that he's been set out to do for like his entire life, even though he's like immortal or whatever. That's like his lifelong mission, is to catch the demon who likes to eat people. And some of the stories in here are really funny, and again, the humor, I feel like it's just more, humor is like better in this one. It's not like as forced. It like actually makes me laugh. Like the genie king was talking about like how he helped build like the pyramid or something for King Solomon from like the Bible, and he talked about how half the people like just stood around, and he was like, something like your modern day construction workers. And I was like, what a funny humorous like thing to put in there, because I feel like that's something that everyone always talks about. Like, there's always construction going on the road, but like you always see them just standing around not doing anything. Accurate, and just really funny. Like, little bits in here are just like little tiny gems of funny that actually feel more, what is the word I'm looking for? It's like more real, not forced. It's like, there's a word I'm thinking of. I'll probably think of it later, but I also just need food. So I'm gonna eat my lunch. I'm gonna finish reading a little bit more of this. I really would ideally like to finish this today. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I ideally like to, because I'm only like 2 days behind. Because another book I read, I just took longer reading it. And again, all my books are like in succession. I'm trying to read them in order of them being returned to the library. So I need to finish this technically within the next week. I need to finish it a lot sooner than that because I have other books planned. They need to be returned at the same time. So I am almost done with this book. I almost finished it on my lunch today, but lunch obviously was cut a little bit short by work. So I only have like 30 pages left of this, and I'm gonna finish it today, mind you. But I have to do a couple cooking things. I just finished work like 45 minutes later than I intended to today. Surprise. So I'm gonna be making my homemade tomato sauce. I know it doesn't look very homemade, but these are the best tomatoes. I usually also roast my own tomatoes, but I forgot to get tomatoes at the store, so we're just using the cans today. I'm making my tomato sauce for our spaghetti and meatballs tomorrow, but it's pretty time consuming, so I wanted to kind of do it today after work and just get it over with, because the thing I've learned as an adult is it is so important to kind of like pre-game for like the next day. So like, I know it's gonna be really busy tomorrow at work. Like Tuesdays and Wednesdays are my busiest days. Tomorrow's Wednesday. I need to just like try to get everything I can together to make my life easier tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like I need to do so much stuff right now. I need to do some coffee grinding to make my cold brew or just like my regular coffee. I just gotta make my spaghetti sauce. I gotta make the meatballs ahead of time. I'm trying to like basically just do everything I can in front of time.
Get up, get up, get up, get up. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Get up, get up, get up, get up.
Finally, my cold brew. Homemade spaghetti meatballs was a success with an ungodly amount of Parmesan cheese. Yeah, it's pretty good. I did forget to put salt in meatballs, but it's okay because we have lots of cheese. And we can add salt if needed, but my homemade tomato sauce, amazing. Now it's on to 90 Day Fiancé, season 4. They're all fucking nuts. So I finally picked up A Dirty Job, and so far I'm really enjoying it. And just so we're clear, this also takes place in San Francisco, which is really funny because the characters from the Blood-Sucking Fiends I read earlier in this vlog are in this book. And they're like peppered in, you know, it's not like they're like in the whole novel, you know, like as main characters, they're like side characters that are popping up and helping our main character out with stuff. And I just kind of love that. I don't know, I just kind of forgot that he does that with some of his books, that he brings other characters in, even though they're like, because they're in the same universe, there's completely different stories. And I love that. I don't know, it's just super interesting. Because I'm not like super attached to those characters, but at the same time, I love finding them in a different book, especially because I really like the premise of this one. So the premise of A Dirty Job, and I'm not gonna like ruin it for you or anything, but in the first chapter, Charlie's wife has a baby and then she dies. And then shortly thereafter, he basically finds out that he is now death incarnate. So he is a like death merchant, so he helps facilitate souls. He doesn't kill people outright, but he does kind of the job of like a Grim Reaper and takes the souls and moves them somewhere else. So he's trying to figure this out, and it's just really funny watching him navigate this. It's a little bit annoying that they keep bringing up that he's a beta male, because like I know that's like part of like his personality and it's like funny, but it's like literally every other chapter and it's kind of driving me nuts. But I do love the premise. I think it's a really interesting like universe, and I really love books that have like a concept like this. Like it's kind of a high concept idea that you're like helping move souls along and whatnot. Especially because he's just is such an unassuming character, and that's really, it's very comical in some of the ways that he deals with things. And as much as he tries like not to kill people, like when he's around them, they tend to die, right? Like the people that need to die kind of like tend to come around him, and watching him navigate that is just really funny. So I definitely would recommend that you probably read Blood-Sucking Fiends and that like vampire series to understand more of this book, just because those characters are in this book and you wouldn't get the references. I mean, you might be like, oh, that's a cool character, but it just makes it that much more special that I know who those characters are. Even though I haven't read the second and third ones again, like reread them for the Blood-Sucking Fiend series. Like there's like a lot of peppered in references from his other books, and I just really enjoy that. So I'm only like 90 pages into this, but I'm really hoping to finish this in 2 days, you know, so I have 2 more days to read this. I think I'll probably get there. I'm definitely enjoying it so far. I mean, so far so good. It's charming. Anywho, I'm gonna go finish making dinner. Tonight we're gonna have beef tips, I think. I don't know. We're trying out this new Instant Pot recipe, but I'm very sad because the other day we tried out a different Pinterest recipe and it was fucking awful. It was these honey mustard pretzel chicken. it was one of the worst recipes I think I've actually ever made, and I put so much effort into it, and it was just not good. It was not good at all. I even left a comment on the Pinterest pin. I feel bad, but like it was, who made this recipe and thought it was good? So this book isn't turning out the way I hoped it would. So I read this a really long time ago, and rereading it now, let me explain. Listen, I don't think I actually like this book at all. There it is. This is so chauvinistic and just like has so many racist moments and so many overly sexual one-liners, and I am just struggling. Women have been referred to in here as fuck puppets. Don't like that. We have our Chinese and Russian character who take care of little Sophie during the day, and you know, a lot of times their banter is funny because their English is obviously broken and they say funny things, but the problem is they're complete stereotypes, and everyone in this book is a fucking cardboard cutout of a stereotype. Like the Chinese lady calls everyone white devils and is always looking at animals as like weird meat she can take home, and then the Russian lady calls everything like bear and like steals a goldfish to cook. Like I don't understand. Like it's just, even after like 5 years of these characters, there's zero fucking growth, and like the fact that their speech has not changed in 5 years tells me that this is just like a stereotypical character. Like it's a racist portrayal of these characters. Like they're not growing at all. They're not like learning better English. They're just like stuck in this stereotype, and it's just really frustrating. And the women part is what's honestly worrying me like the most. Like I cannot deal with the way that he talks about women in this book. Like, now, just disregarding the fuck puppet thing, he like there's a reference to his daughter blowing a Teletubby as like a 6-month-old, and what really fucking got me was the 16-year-old who starts off 16 in this book, later, a couple years later, comes on to him and offers him a pity fuck, and it's just so out of nowhere. Like she literally knocks on his door and offers to have sex with him. What? I'm just so annoyed by that, and the fact that he's always describing women's bodies in this book is just driving me insane. And he always talks about him being a beta male, and he's like trying not to look, but like, oh my god, when there's beautiful women, he can't help himself. That got old 2 chapters into the fucking book, and it has not stopped. And I think the reason I liked this book so much when I was younger was I loved the concept of it. I love the concept of this guy who becomes death, and he's basically guiding the souls of like the dearly departed onto like their next like host. Like it's such a cool idea, and like his daughter can literally kill people when she points at them and says the word kitty. How fucking funny is that? And then she's literally guarded by these hellhounds like that just showed up one day, and the hellhounds are like funny. I love animal side characters. Like he jokes about feeding them propane bottles and then they'll burp fire because they're obviously like not real dogs, like they're, you know, supernatural. It's just like such a great concept. And then like there's so many weirdly inappropriate sexual moments where he's like going out trying to get laid because his sister tells him to. And his sister is a complete lesbian stereotype who keeps stealing all his suits and goes through women like underwear. It's just so frustrating. Like the stereotypes in this book are like driving me nuts. And like I am very like unoffended by things. Like I honestly, sometimes I can see how someone else will take it that way, but I can just attribute it to, I don't feel like it was a harmful mention. Like a lot of his other books he makes fun of everybody. It's like Family Guy or American Dad. Like his humor is funny and it makes fun of everybody. Like everyone gets made fun of. Everyone. But in this book, it's like we have this wonderful beta male character who's white, and everyone else around him is brown or a stereotype, and or black and a stereotype, and it's just, I'm done. Like I honestly want to DNF this so bad, and I never thought I would say this. I honestly thought this was gonna be a 5 stars for me because I remember the concept and I love the concept. The actual execution is unbelievably frustrating. Like I cannot talk about a woman's breasts anymore. Like I honestly cannot. I kind of lost it like when one of the souls he has to retrieve, like basically souls inhabit the objects once like people pass or like right before they pass, their souls inhabit the objects. And one of them was some girl's fucking boob job. Yeah, her fucking breast implants were the soul thing. And he's like, oh, I don't know how to take those out, obviously. This is such a fucking miss. Like I'm I almost want to DNF this. Like, I only have like 110 pages left, but I was wondering like why I was struggling to read this so much, because I feel like some of these other books are a lot quicker, especially like the last one, Practical Demon Keeping. I didn't expect to love it so much, but like I flew through that book and it was pretty funny. I mean, you know, there were some upsetting parts where like the one gay character like died pretty early on or whatever, but like it wasn't done in a disrespectful way. It flowed with the storyline, so it didn't bother me. It wasn't like he went out of his way to make fun of this character who liked to dress up as a woman, like in total drag and pretend to be someone else. Like it didn't ever feel disrespectful. This feels disrespectful. Like everything in this book just feels disgusting. Like it literally talks about like staring at women's butts and calling them fuck puppets. Like I just don't understand why this is supposed to be funny. My level of frustration is like 1,000. I'm annoyed. This is not okay. Why was this relevant to the plot? Like, it's not relevant at all. Why did you have this? What is she, like 20 now? Like, ew. And she's grown up working for him. It's just disgusting. I'm sorry. Like, I feel like this is such a male fantasy, and like every beta male fantasy ever. I can't even say anything. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish this. I'll keep you updated, but I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I'm not doing well.
I'll tell you how I'm doing. Not well, bitch.
Anyway, I'll chat with you later. I finished it. I don't know. I'm going to rate it. I don't know. I don't care. I think it was like, I don't know. I like the storyline better. I hated the way characters were treated. I don't know. You're going to have to see my Goodreads review to see what I rate it, because I don't fucking know at this point. But anyway, like, subscribe, join the tribe. Thank you for watching this long-ass video. I don't know if it was like a success. It's been a really long week. It has been a really long week. I'm not sure if this was a success or not, but I guess I would do it again. I'm a little annoyed that this was the book I ended on. Whatever. Okay, bye.